Well, good morning, everybody. It's Ron Howard from xTreme Sequences. Yo, pal. Bringing you a look at 2022.5. I know a lot of you got really excited and thought, well, Ron's got to take a look at it and say something. Well, I was kind of busy. You know, I've got life outside of lighting, believe it or not. But I was anxious to find some time today to take a peek at some of the features, enhancements, bug fixes, all that kind of stuff. And there's some groovy things in this release that you should take note of. And while I've only been playing with it a little bit today, I'll share some things that I really like, and super appreciative of Dan Culp for making a couple things happen, which I think is going to be really cool, and I'll share that with you. Keith has also been very busy at making some things look just like the Mac world, which is interesting, and I think it's a smart thing because when we look at some of these features like the output of video, let me just bring this guy down here. Woo, that's a big one. This upgrade Windows to use FFmpeg version 5. So now that we get outputs of MPEG 4 instead of AVI, this should clean up the file nicely, and it will look much cleaner and brighter from the Windows world. That's always been a pet peeve of mine. It's always sort of been an issue and forced me to have to use other software to record with to get it to look better. And on the Mac, it just, you know, it looks great. Dan had made that change a while back. Rewriting the Windows hardware video processing, reducing minimum frame time to 10 milliseconds. Yay, great. But here's the funny thing. I did testing today with the same sequence on the Windows machine, which is running a 3080 RTI video card, and then also on my MacBook Pro M1 Max. And there's quite a bit of difference in the time it takes. On the Windows side, you're looking close to 6 to 7 minutes for the output at 4K. Now, do you need 4K? Probably not, but I know a lot of this stuff looks really good in higher resolution back on YouTube because they compress the crap out of it. So I try to go with a higher resolution. The time it takes to render the video here, well, let's just show you. Let's just take this, and I have a sequence here. And I've got the full screen here. So here's the sequence, and I'll bring the house preview all the way over, and I'm going to click on File, Export House Preview, and we'll just put this on the desktop, and I'll just call this V3 Speed Test. There we go. Good enough. And save. And it's off and running. About this point on the Windows, you're not seeing much movement with the blue bar, really nothing. And it just takes minutes. Put it this way, I was able to catch up on world events through Facebook News while it was trying to export the video on the Windows side. Now, I don't remember if I had video decoding turned on or not. But on the M1, I certainly don't, and I don't know if that would have helped it. But there's something you could try on your side if you export a lot of your videos from here. Anyway, that's done, and it will look really good. If I play this, that's the one right there. And that's all we'll play of that. Otherwise, you know, it'll get busted for music, and then that's it. Okay, let's go back. That was that, and let's just bring this one back up. Let's see, what else do we have here? Allow X models to include shadow models for simpler import. Okay, so I tried to make this work. I have no idea how to make this work. You would be the wrong one. Let's get rid of you, thank you. Go to my layout here, and I have several things that use shadow models. If you see all these lines up here, these are all shadow models. And they're for things like the native files from Gilbert Engineering, Rosa Grande, and the mother of all reeds. And I'm also probably using them for icicles because I wanted to have a certain area where I wanted to start a run for my pigtail. And I'm not really sure why. And it does this on the Windows and Mac side, so I couldn't figure out either way. Certainly, it's easy to right-click and export xLights model, but in here, there's supposed to be another drop-down for type, and I don't see it. Maybe it didn't make the cut. I'm not sure. But if I click on export xLights model, this comes up. We're going to put this on the desktop, Grand Illusion 1. You click save, and then it's going to, yes, replace. It's going to say, okay, great. What models do you want? And I was hoping to see a list in here. Now, the Grand Illusion, sure, it will have those. I'm not worried about that. Here's all my Grand Illusions. And unfortunately, we have to click all these. I think before, a lot of these would automatically be clicked for you, and that was kind of nice. But, you know, we don't have to be lazy. It's not a big deal to click these, except you have to do it every time. But I don't see anything about shadow models. And so, obviously, I'm doing something wrong. But the instructions were pretty sparse. So there you go, as in there were none. So I'll go ahead and cancel that. No use outputting it or exporting it. It's not going to work for me. But I do love the idea that if someone has a Grand Illusion from Gilbert Engineering like I do, and they want to wire it just like I do because they only want to use 2, 3, 4 outputs, and they didn't get the 50 count strings, and they're dealing with 100 count, and there's 1,000 nodes in it, you know, that could be very beneficial for them to import that in and say, good, I'm done. I didn't have to go through the trouble of creating the shadow models, which isn't difficult, but you know, it's another time-consuming task that you have to do. All right, that's that. Let's move on. Improve the face default based on type of model. I don't know. I haven't looked at that. I don't have any faces in. Oh, well, actually, I do. Let's do this. Let's look at a face, and we will just figure this out together. What could it be? Those aren't changed. Girl, add single nodes. We could add, we could create all. I'm going to wait and play with this, so I'm not even going to mess with it now. But anyway, if it's an enhancement, that's great. I'm not a huge fan of singing faces, but, you know, I did enjoy them in my Christmas show this last year. I thought the GE bulbs were rocking out, and I really, really did like it. So maybe I'll get fully hooked on it. Let's see, add the model export dialog, the type of export. Again, I didn't see that. Add a color search and replace function. Okay, so this is really interesting. And I think you have to be careful with this. Let me go over here to something safe. And I'll show you what I mean. I'm just going to create an animation. And let's bring everything down here, and let's just go over here and put a couple of effects on here. I'm just going to put on here an on effect, and we'll just put a couple more on and a couple more on. There we go. There we are. So that's my white. Let's just make this one white. Let's make this one yellow. There we go. That's yellow. Let's add one more. Let's make this yellow as well. And one more. And maybe just one more. Okay. Cool. And we'll make that one blue. So you have a color here. You have an effect. There is a new edit color replace, where you can go in and find colors that you already have in your layout on effects and decide to select that color and then replace it with any other color you want. And of course, with Mac, we have so many more choices. So I'm gonna replace them with seafoam, and let's see what happens here. So that puts the seafoam in here, and there is a nice safety thing here. I think this is clever, and that is only replace the selected effects. So if you don't want to replace colors in all of your effects in your entire sequence, be careful. So I'll click replace, and bada boom, 3 colors replaced. There they are. Here's the caveat. I'm going to close this. I'm going to hit Control Z. All it did was change this one from blue back to yellow when it was blue. There is no edit undo that I can find once you make this change. Here's what's going to happen, folks. Some of you are going to do this and go, oh my gosh, I didn't want that on those models. What have I done? And you're going to go up here and go and hope that it didn't save, or you're going to have to go back to a backup. You're going to just immediately close out of xLights and come back into the sequence, or close out of the sequence and come back into it because you just made a boo-boo. So be very, very, very careful. So if I select all of these, click on my edit, color replace, and I want to replace yellow, and my color, and the selected effects only, and I'm going to click on a, let's just go with a midnight blue. There's my blue, replace. It's only going to replace those 3. Now let's test that again. Let's take, let's close that. Let's take this, this, and this. Edit, color replace. We're going to place that with the midnight. Select effects only. Good. Close. And here's the gotcha. This is where people are going to get in trouble. I just know this is going to happen. I'm going to edit, place color. I'm going to replace blue, but I only want maybe a few of these, or maybe I don't want them throughout my sequence. As a matter of fact, I'll show you how crazy this is probably going to be. Control copy. Let's just put these over here. Let's put these over here. And so I really only want to change these, right? So edit, color replace. That's the color I want. I want to change just that top line to, I don't know, steel. Fine. Replace. Boom. It's changed all of them. I think it's a cool feature for the power sequencers, or for people that just go, you know, hey, I'm partially colorblind. I thought that was green. I need to change all of them to red. Perfect. Just make sure the color replace that you tell it selected effects only. If you do that, use it with caution and build up your confidence in using this, because again, there is no edit undo. All right, moving on. What else do we have here? Where DMX models can't render draw an error box, or okay, not my thing. Add 3D mouse support to Windows. This is something that Dan Culp put in with Space Mouse on the Mac side a while back. It's really, really cool. I've seen some demo stuff with that on YouTube videos, and I almost purchased it, but I held back. It's only so much mind left in this hobby to take on yet new toys like that, but it looked really cool. Allow selection of matrix faces by double-clicking the row tile. Okay, let's allow selection of matrix faces by double-clicking the row title. I'm gonna have to play with that. That sounds interesting. That's something Scott put together, and Scott's a clever one. He's always finding ways for us to be more efficient. Add bulk edit of pixel appearance settings. This is really, really nice and super appreciated from Dan Culp. In your layout, we can do lots of things when we select models. We know that we can right click and change the view. We can change the brightness, all of these things, which are cool. One thing we've never ever been able to do until this release is right click, bulk edit, and change the pixel style, square smooth, circle blend, blended circle, or the one that I really wanted, pixel size. I typically use smaller pixel sizes when I'm sequencing in my show because it looks more realistic to what I'll see outside. However, that doesn't always translate well in a YouTube or Vimeo video because of the compression used, and it looks dimmer and it's harder to see all the effects. So there are times I'll want to boost this up to maybe 4, and now they're all boosted up and super bright, and so the pixels will play back and you'll see them a little brighter than you might have otherwise. So for someone like me that has a show like this, it's super, super, super appreciative. If I were to select all and then deselect my matrix, which I always leave at 1, now when I'm getting ready to create a video or export a video, I can just simply click on here, bulk edit, and let's change the pixel size. There we go. And why it says 100, I have no idea, but that's okay. Let's just set it all to 2 and roll the dice, see what happens here. All right, it didn't break it. They were already set to 2. All right, I love it. I love it, love it, love it. I think that's super, super cool. All right, let's get rid of you. Let's see what else we have on the list here. 2020. Well, first of all, it says 2021.05. Don't let that confuse you. It is 2022.05. Just something not quite right in the description at xlights.org. They'll fix that. Let's see. When controller held down and object selected, rotate, move, and view rather than the object. So basically, you're rotating the view rather than the object. Now, I was messing with that. I didn't see any difference, but that's just because I don't know what I'm doing, and I'll have to find out from Dan exactly what that means. Fixed batch render. I didn't know I had a problem, but you know, it's coming into March, so I don't really batch render this time of year. So thank you, Scott. Fixed Q1 pin. Yep, have no idea. Fix FX not rendering. Fix FX not rendering. Maybe that's some of the FX effects in the single strand tool. I know Dan was doing some work on that, getting it stable, so much appreciated. OS X fixed node single grid colors in dark mode. Okay, perfect. Fix fallback for 3D mouse where drivers are missing. Okay, beautiful. A little more of that space mouse stuff. Slopsky. Who's this guy? I don't know much about him. Okay, fix default view for new sequences. Awesome. Fix ruler does not initialize if you are not in 3D mode. Okay, so this is kind of a cool one. I've done videos on using the 3D ruler, and I think it's super important to understand how to use the 3D ruler. If this is in 2D as it is here, you should still be able to take advantage of dimensions, which I have here. These are all 46 by 46 inches. And how I did that was simply just telling it 3D, going into the 3D objects, and you would add object, and you click ruler, which I've already done, and here's my ruler. And when that is selected, you can choose your units. You can choose inches, meters, centimeters, millimeters, yards, feet, and then all you need to do is measure. As you see here, this is a measurement from one end to the other, and you say, okay, great, that's 46 inches. And now you have the ability to work with your models in 2D and all of your other props to make them as close to real life as possible based on dimensions. And the dimensions will always show up when you have a model selected. Further down the list here, dimensions, click on it, and you can change it. Now, why the depth shows 37.4, you can just ignore that. Even in 3D, if you turn this, you can see it's flat as a pancake. But for things like cubes and a pixel forest, that 37.4 will come in very handy. So that's pretty cool. All right, getting to the bottom of the list here. Fixed heart render has inconsistencies. Great, thank you. A universe per string allocates too many universes for serial port models. Sequences saves do not update recent sequence menu. Okay, all this stuff. A lot of these things are just bug fixes that are commonly and routinely fixed along the way when they're found. Fixed DMX general model does not split. Okay, great. Look, there's a ton of good stuff. I've been messing with this release this morning on the Mac and Windows. I like to test things on both, and if I see one thing works on one and not the other, then I'll call that out and try to get the word out and let people know. But for the most part, it's nice to see that we're seeing a little more balance, and the whole MP4 output, I think, is really a good idea. I don't know why it's so slow on the Windows side, but maybe there'll be a fix for that later as well. All right, that's all I've got for you. Download this, start playing with it. You should not be afraid to download this version of xLights unless you are in production mode. You can always create a brand new folder on your desktop and copy files from your old folder or your old shell directory to that and have a safe sandbox. You should be fine. If you're still nervous about that, well, we'll see you in November. All right, gotta go. See ya.